Hey everybody, I'm Dane Fredrickson, and I'm here today with Jeff Bedrick. He's a multi-talented individual with a deep background in art, video, producing, lots of different corners of the media industry. Just to start with, Jeff, feel free to add on to that list. It would probably take us all day if we got to the whole thing, though, right?
Well, thank you, thank you, Dan. I'll try to keep it brief. Yeah. So obviously, I'm no spring chicken. I've been at this for a long time, and my career started in traditional art, where I was, I showed my art in galleries all over the world when I was much younger. Then I moved into commercial illustration, and then was always really interested in animation. So I ended up, starting at entry level positions in various animation studios around the San Francisco Bay Area. From there, the digital revolution hit, and I jumped on that bandwagon and hit the ground running with work in game studios and advertising. Fast forward, ended up at DreamWorks for a while, doing matte paintings for blockbusters like Shrek 2. And most recently, I was for the last 6.5 years, I was working as a senior designer at a big ad agency called AppLovin, which produced mobile ads for mobile apps that were both animated and interactive. So I was working with the dev team for the interactive stuff. During the time at AppLovin, that's when the AI revolution hit, which I know is something we wanted to talk about today. And so our studio kind of had a decision to either ignore it or jump in with it, and we decided on the latter and really studied all the AI tools that were coming out as they were coming out and being developed, and decided that we were just going to master them all, which we did. We had one of my colleagues that I work closely with was sort of was designated as our AI czar, and so he was doing all the research. Great guy named Jose, and he basically just feeding every day, just reading all the journals and keeping up with all the latest of what was coming out, what was available, what we could subscribe to, and we would just kind of have weekly meetings on how to use the different tools. And once we started integrating that into our workflow, some people were afraid, oh, we're going to lose our jobs, but it wasn't anything like that at all. It was basically just like a whole new set of tools for us to work with. Already a team of incredibly talented people now basically able to double their workflow, which is what we were able to do within a few short months of starting working with the AI tools. That included Midjourney, obviously, for image generating, Runway and Sora for video generating. That's either image to video or text to video. We used 11 Labs for voice for VO generating, and then there was some people who were even using a software for generating original music. So it just added to our workflow so incredibly that it became sort of well known among the industry that this is something that we were doing, and all of the clients suddenly started becoming very excited about it. It was like this novelty, like everybody wanted, hey, can you create an AI ad for us? And which was really kind of fun. It was just sort of like this new toy to play with that all the clients wanted. And even though some of the AI generated content had that weird uncanny valley quality about it, that sort of became a feature rather than a bug. It was like another way of attracting attention because it was something new that people hadn't seen a lot before.
Yeah, seven fingers, right?
Yeah, all that. Yeah, and all the weird psychedelic looking stuff.
Yeah.
And so that kind of ran its course for a while until things started continuing to improve until it just became so seamless into the workflow that if it was done well, it wasn't even really visible. It just sped everything up.
Right.
So.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your background, and I'm so glad that it's so cool because you've had such a wide group of experiences, and then now to be able to take those with AI, and you're one of these people that's really leaning into that and has got some real world experience. And so I wanted to kind of reframe it a little bit. my audience that I'm focused on right now is B2B marketing, right? And I really see B2B as kind of playing catch up to where B2C has been with video and with AI content. B2C is a lot more probably friendly for faking it, like commercials and things being like not real. But in the B2B world, I'm really focused on this authenticity thing, which we're actually doing right now. We're having real human conversations,
Right.
not using AI, but we're talking about AI.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of B2B marketers are kind of trying to figure out, what are we going to do with AI? How do we make that work for us rather than against us? Because I think with new technologies, I think there's like the hype curve gets really high, and then there's this valley of disillusionment,
Right.
which I think we're on that dip right now, where people are realizing maybe the promises aren't quite there. I mean, everyone knows it's amazing, but there's things where it can be the wrong idea, it can be incorrect, it can misrepresent all those sort of bad things that come with AI. And I
Hmm.
saw a report the other day that like the vast majority of companies are not seeing the return on the investment in AI. And
Oh,
so that's kind of like a worrisome statistic, maybe not surprising given that the hype curve kind of a disillusionment phenomenon that happens. But I wanted to talk just a little bit more about how you see like the big picture about when to use AI and
mhm.
when not in media creation right now.
Oh, that's a great question. Well, like I said, I think it's more of a tool uh, in your toolbox. I always compare it to when Bob Dylan went electric. You go from an acoustic guitar to plug it in. Now you've got an electric guitar. You still need someone to play it. An electric guitar isn't going to play itself, and that's exactly the way I feel about AI. You still need a talented designer at the helm, behind the wheel, to use it properly. Otherwise, you just get a mess.
But that's the
Um,
big misconception, right? That we're trying to overcome right now. I think us creatives and people with their hands
yeah,
on it are saying, hey, you can't just flip a switch and the machine's going to kick out something that's great.
right,
I mean, it kind of feels that way to a lot of people. And I think
right,
maybe even I am not quite sure like when it's okay or like how
yeah,
good does it have to be? Because we're kind of in this weird era now where like things are kind of more casual professionally. And
yeah.
there's an experimentation vibe with AI. It's like Coca-Cola put out that ad for it was I was surprising. I was like, this isn't good enough, is it? But it got noticed, and so
Right.
like, was it a flop? I don't know. So
Well, I think that's kind of human nature. People want the magic pill, and it reminds me of 12 years of teaching animation and visual effects at the San Francisco Academy of Art, and I had semester after semester of students with very little art background and wanted to know, which button do I press to make it look good, and and I would tell them, that's not how it works. You need the fundamentals. And I actually developed classes specifically to address that problem, to teach basic art fundamentals to visual effects students who had never picked up a pencil in their lives before.
yeah,
And so it's that kind of thing now, where I think it's almost like that gee whiz science fiction expectation of what it
flying
can
cars.
do, kind of magical thinking.
Yeah,
When again, you still need someone who knows what they're doing behind it. So to get back to answering your question
yeah.
about when and where it's appropriate to use, um, I think that's on a case by case basis. I use it kind of more under the hood, so to speak. So in the early planning stages, if I've got a rough idea, I can even just run it by ChatGPT and say, hey, here's a rough idea that I'm trying to develop. Can you help me flesh it out a little bit? And that's incredibly useful. It'll give me some ideas. And then once I have that, then I can say, okay, well now let's work up some thumbnails. Maybe I have a rough script and now I need a storyboard, and I can develop like a rough storyboard from that without having to spend all day drawing every frame. It can just spit something out for me. Now that's never going to appear in the finished work, but it's a huge time saver to get me from zero to halfway,
Mhm.
and then I can refine it. I can say, okay, that's awkward and weird because it was done by a machine, but I can then tweak it and refine it using
Right.
my own creative sensibility to get it to where it needs to be. So again, I don't know. It's like a a guy with a bulldozer. You got a big tool that you can get a lot more work done than
Right.
you
If
do
you're trying to dig a small hole, don't use a
yeah,
bulldozer.
right.
Yeah. So it sounds to me, I'm getting the sense that it hasn't really changed the process for you. It's more like an accelerant that you can use at key moments in that process.
Exactly. Yeah, I would never put out something a finished work that where the last thing that touched it was AI. I'm going to be the last thing that touches it. But AI might have helped me at certain stages along the way just to accelerate the process.
Yeah, I've made that mistake too. I'm like, hey, that looks good enough. Actually,
Right.
it's incorrect.
Well, and there were some cases, like I said before, where the clients actually like that weird,
Yeah,
uncanny AI generated stuff. So that might be what they want. But I think that was a trend
yeah,
that kind of came and went pretty quickly.
yeah.
So
So I'm curious, are you having conversations in your work life or professional life, like where you're having to kind of educate people about the limitations of AI and not having that magic button? You mentioned it like with your students kind of having
right.
that, but like are basically what I'm trying to get to is how do we help people get over these misconceptions so we can kind of just move forward and get past that? Does that make sense?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. It's not like I have clients coming to me every day asking me for AI stuff now that
Yeah,
I'm working independently. Uh, and the student thing was also, several years back, even before AI.
yeah,
They were anticipating something like that even before it existed. So now, educating people, I suppose if it comes up that, if there is a question, hey, can you use AI for this or for that? But now it's almost like they don't even really care or want to know how it gets done as long as it gets done.
yeah, yeah.
And if I might not even mention that I'm using AI to accelerate my workflow
Right.
unless they ask specifically.
Okay, so I'm also curious, like because of your depth of experience, you must have a sense of how to tell people, like when they ask, like, how much is this going to cost, right? Like, how
Right.
much does it cost to make a video? That one always kills me because it's sort of like asking how much is a house or how much is a
Yeah.
meal. It's like, well, it
Yeah.
could be a hot dog or it can be, a wedding cater party. So,
Well, exactly, and that's I know you've talked with other people about this same question, and I think the answer is going to be pretty similar. It's you basically have to explain to them you get what you pay for, and you want something you're not going to get Pixar quality from one person in a few
yeah,
days,
right, right,
if that's what you're expecting. And I've had clients that seem to think that was possible, but so I would lay it out for them, and I think the common answer is that you give them a range.
Mhm.
Here's the simple version, the medium version, and the deluxe version, and here's what each one's going to cost and how long each one's going to take. Take your pick.
Yeah,
And even then, that's just the beginning because there's obviously what do they call it, scope creep or whatever
yeah, yeah,
the phrase is,
yeah,
where they always end up, they'll agree to something that sounds really simple, but then they always end up kind of, needling you for more and more and more and more.
yeah.
That wasn't part of the original conversation. So anticipating that, I kind of work that in. I'll say,
Mhm.
this is what we've agreed to. If a time comes when you want more, then we're going to have to renegotiate,
Right, right.
just to give them a heads up in advance.
Yeah,
So that's kind of how it works. And again, every situation is different. You might be dealing with, a friend who needs a logo for their yoga studio down the street,
right.
or you might be dealing with Pepsi,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's going to be a different conversation.
Right. And it might be the same person. You never know.
Right.
So I also wanted to kind of wrap things up with like maybe like your advice to someone who's a little bit less experienced with media production and let's say they're like a marketing manager or CEO or something. They're like, hey, we want a video for our company for this thing. Like what do you want them to know to get started that they would have to like the first considerations to start to give this project shape? Do you have a sense of like how you would talk to someone like that?
Well, again, I think every situation is different. I would need more specific. I always feel like I'm pulling teeth asking for specifics from clients.
Yeah.
They have a vague idea, but they have no of what they kind of want, but they really have no idea what it takes. And so I need to draw it out of them, so I can get a better handle on what they're looking for. And a lot of that just starts with their branding, if they even have any, or if that's going to be part of the package that I'm going to have to deliver for them. So if somebody's starting a new company and hey, I have a new idea for a company, I don't even have a logo or a website yet, then that might be a little premature at that point to even talk about doing something that's going to come a little further along. If they do have some branding, then I will ask them to give it to me, share it with me, and so I'll have at least a little something to work with, and then talk about the nuts and bolts of exactly what they need. If it's an animated, a promotional video, what messaging do they want? Do they have a script? Do they want me to help them with that? And it's just every step of the way until I get a clear idea of what they need, and then we can take it from there.
Okay, excellent. Well, this has been a really great conversation. Thank you for sharing your insights. I'm so glad to hear someone with your experiences using AI so effectively. I love that you guys wanted to master AI and just went out and did it. So I think you're one to watch if people want to know how to do it right.
Well, thank you. I mean, there's always more to learn. There's always people who are bit better experts than me or know what they're doing more than I do. But I've been having fun with it. And, since I've been working independently, I find myself really leaning on ChatGPT. I've got a paid subscription and using it for almost everything. And it's been incredibly helpful, kind of guiding me through how to reposition myself professionally, write scripts, write proposals, and do things that, I kind of knew how to do, but again, it just streamlines it and polishes it in a way, or helps me polish it in a way that would have taken me way, way longer to do on my own. So, anyway, that's where I'm at with it right now.
Well, yeah, it's again, thank you for sharing all that insight, and thanks for making time today. We'll end it here, and we'll see you down the highway somewhere.
Likewise, Dane. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Take care.